Views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Welcome to Lyme Talk Radio with Dr. Pat Baccili. Epic healing for an epic life. This inspiring show highlights leading-edge solutions, groundbreaking research, headline topics, and tools for holistic healing and wellness. This hit show is dedicated to raising awareness, promoting advocacy and prevention, and supporting initiatives for optimal health. Dr. Pat is passionate and focused on life-saving results reaching far beyond Lyme disease, providing a forum for powerful stories, heart-opening experiences, and hope-activated solutions. Dr. Pat will shine a light on the many shades of Lyme disease fueled by a body, mind, spirit remedy. Now here's your host, Dr. Pat.
Hey everybody, welcome to Lyme Talk Radio. And shine the light. I mean, I'm telling you, today, fasten your seatbelts for today's show. Forget about shining a light. We're just going to, bust out of this because my friend and colleagues with an S are joining us here today, kicking it off with Colette, Marie, Stefan, and Will Hatch will be joining us. Today we're talking about dis-ease. What's bugging you? Yeah, and that's because when we talk about Lyme disease, we like to talk about ticks. But, what if the tick were a tick of a different nature? What if the tick were something that's going on inside of you as well? Today, we're going to be talking about what we can do about being overwhelmed by the symptoms of Lyme disease. Because let me tell you something. There are symptoms of Lyme disease. There are more than I can imagine even telling you about. And in the world, when we think about what this is doing and happening to people right now, we are looking for relief. Today, you're going to hear about what Colette and Will have put together. A relief of a kind that is taking the world by storm. What if we can energetically heal? What about the energetic level that invades our consciousness when you have a disease like Lyme disease? You've heard the stories. You know what people have gone through. You've heard the discussions. You have felt the sense of hopelessness around this. You've seen and heard people get caught up in the political dogma of what to do or not to do with this disease. Now today, you're going to hear about relief. For those of you that may not know who Colette is, I'm going to tell you that beyond knowing her from The Truth is Funny and her fabulous show, what I want to say to all of you about it is that she has said yes to looking at the world and helping all of us understand how we can get relief beyond relief. She's globally known for the work that she does, whether it's energetic upgrade, whether it's her fabulous book that has pretty much everything in it you need to know, The Truth is Funny, or whether you're now looking at these fabulous energy correcting cards and paintings. This is what they do. Energy correcting, tales from the vector. But I'm going to tell you, you're going to hear more about this. Today's show is about what Colette has discovered in the world of healing that could help all of you out there that have been suffering with Lyme disease. Colette, it's great to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Pat, for such a warm and wonderful welcome. And I'm really looking forward to this show because I've been looking into this whole Lyme disease thing. I want to point out right away for everybody that neither Will nor myself are doctors. Having said that, in many ways, it allows me to kind of just feel for weaknesses. But what I wanted to explain is that when people have a debilitating disease, I think of it more as a dis-ease in the body and the mind and the soul and the spirit. And so many times when people have a physical issue, they're looking for a physical answer as to why they have that physical issue. And the problem with that is that, most physical issues, and I'm talking like probably 99% of them, are not physical at root cause. So as an energetic practitioner, and, from my training and all the work I've been doing, I want to ask first and foremost, energetically, I can get in touch with, different individuals, and be very specific in asking them specific questions. But on a general level, that's more the angle that Will and I have gone at it from, is that on a general level, there's many reasons why people would attract a particular situation that would create a disease or discomfort in the body, pain, whatever, or different conditions that happen to people. Quite often, when they have something present itself, it's not what they really think it is. Yeah. And there's so many underlying triggers that would cause someone to get to the events leading to the disease. They're individual as a person's fingerprints. And that's why some procedures or treatments and medications work for some people and not for others. And at the same time, the commonalities that can be shifted on a general level are can have huge results. And so that's kind of what I'm focusing on in this show. And, the thing that I wanted to explain is that if you think of us as like a binary computer, basically, then we can go from our binary computer is you just have two choices. And in this case, the choice is, are you in alignment or are you out of alignment with your body and your thoughts, etc. And so we can test that energetically. We can learn how to feel for that. And we can do that very quickly by going to our midline, our core energy, our spine. And we can feel on that central nervous system, we can feel when our energy drops and when it is strong. And so what happens as I was working through, as I'm reading about, okay, here we've got this Lyme disease. And I mean, this is like so complicated. Yeah. When you start looking into it, it's so complicated. And it's no wonder that people are so overwhelmed by it. There's so many factors that come in. Having said that, that's what we wanted to call Will in on the second half, and we wanted to kind of split the show in half and do physical and non-physical. So because generally, when you test energetically, why, what is the leading weakness here for this person, or for, let's just say, people that have come into the resonation of this disease, of this particular one. That we want to just follow the weaknesses around that. And the weaknesses do not come up physical first and foremost. The weaknesses are coming up like, okay, whenever something happens with someone, because when you think about this, your meeting with a tick is actually like an accidental meeting, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I got to tell you, I never went out looking for them. I don't think anybody does, but you're absolutely right. I mean, it seems like that. It seems like that.
Yes, it does seem like that. But when you just said that, I just picked up a weakness on two levels there. And so this is not a judgment, anything I'm saying. I'm just explaining how the energy is coming up for me. And the first thing that comes up is that you don't really go looking for it, not on a conscious level. But we have many triggers that can trigger memories, residuals of memories, remnants. It can create hesitations in people's lives because it brings up spiritual experiences of having to leave others behind and of being left behind. And it's actually coming up a karmic space of rejection. Okay, so for a lot of people, the fear of being rejected or the fear of rejecting others, leaving others behind is coming up weak also. And so also on another energetic level, when you said you don't really go looking for it, a lot of people now, because they are so aware of Lyme disease, are out there instead of like enjoying their day when they're out in nature, they are looking for these ticks.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're scared now, right? And as soon as you're afraid of something, as soon as you have a fear that you're going to attract something you don't want to attract, guess what you tend to attract?
Oh, no kidding, right? I mean, we know this story. And, it's really funny we're talking about this because it really is and has been in the Lyme community, at least where I live in the Pacific Northwest here, having Bastyr University a stone's throw away from me, natural medicine, having some of the most incredible people here that look at things other than the traditional ways to approach it. But what you're talking about is kind of fascinating, Colette, because, it took a segment of the Dr. Oz show for him to say something like energy is the final frontier or something like that, energy medicine. But this is something you've been doing for decades. And now we're starting to see, aren't we, that when the pill's not working, the IV's not working, all of the other combinations of things are not working, what if it wasn't that? We're now starting to ask the question, does it, have you found that the people that are willing to explore this and take this journey, are they at a point of desperation before they say, wait a minute, there might be something else?
Yes, I think that I speak about this quite often, is that the universe likes to give us like that little gentle nudge, a little whisper in our ear, and we don't listen to that sometimes. And then, the next thing is we might get, like a little slap, and then we don't listen to that. And then we get the frying pan treatment, I call it. And if that doesn't work, there's always the 2x4. And in our society, it is not acceptable to not work. You would be considered very lazy to not work. If you are, just for no reason, but to get really sick, that's an acceptable reason. And I'm not saying that the people that are getting sick are, please don't misunderstand me here, that they're going out of their way to get out of work. No, not on a conscious level. But I've met many people who have had a disability, and their fear is that their disability payments or that will be taken away and they won't be able to survive. Because what if it comes back? What if the symptoms come back? All of these things. So many times.
Well, I have to tell you, we don't have to worry about in the Lyme community because, first of all, people that have chronic Lyme don't get it covered by insurance, can't claim disability. So the good news, I think, would be, you know what I'm saying?
That could be good news if you want to look at it from that point.
I mean, it's good news from what you're talking about because we can get locked in to the fear of losing that, which we think is greater than healing.
Right.
But we're talking about healing today, right? And that's really kind of how to get underneath it. Let's take a short break. When we come back, more with Colette Marie Stefan, more with Lyme Talk Radio Show. This is what I love. Lyme dis-ease. What's bugging you? Yep. Everybody out there, we got lots more to come. Will's going to be joining us later on in the show. You got comments or question, 1-800-930-2819. We'll be right back.
Are you feeling stagnant or blocked in your love life, career, health, or finances? Experiencing difficulty focusing or setting and achieving goals? Tune in to Spiritual Diagnostics Radio with psychic visionary healers Carol Dorian and Suzanne Evans. Discover the cause and effect of unwanted patterns in life. Tune in every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. For more information, visit spiritualdeed.com.
Francine Vale is a being of light. She believes that all people of planet Earth are as well. As co-host of the Angel Healer radio show, Francine teaches you heart-centered ways to manifest healing on your own behalf and how to integrate love more fully into your daily life. Connect with your angels as you find your life flowing with ease and harmony. Walk the path of light with Francine and Dr. Pat Baccili every month on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Transformation Talk Radio is dedicated to the education and awareness of Lyme disease.
Welcome to Lyme Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Pat Baccili, the host of the Dr. Pat Show, and I am so thrilled that we've created this venue for all of you out there.
Dr. Pat Baccili will be bringing the most innovative, groundbreaking information research, treatment innovations, and stories from those it affects every day.
What we have heard is that you want to ensure for us that we keep positive, holistic, uplifting, transformative talk radio on the air. We're excited to bring you the contemporary conversations about Lyme disease.
We promise not to let the light fade on Lyme.
So fasten your seatbelts. We've got lots more to share with you in the weeks to come.
Tune into Lyme Talk Radio with Dr. Pat and help keep our mission strong on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
On the cutting edge of the new mainstream, Christine Upchurch is passionate about bringing together science, psychology, and spirituality in a way that can be applied to our everyday lives for true transformation. The Christine Upchurch Show, stellar conversations to illuminate your journey, engages some of the most outstanding visionaries on the planet in lively dialogue to inspire you to become that bright light you're meant to be. Join Christine every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time on KKNW, AM 1150, and Transformation Talk Radio.
Wow. Hey, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. This is Talk Radio to Thrive By. I'm telling you, I got to pinch myself some days because when each of us gets called to do something that we so not thought was in our wheelhouse to do for a purpose that's so much greater than us, we get to show up and shine.
If you would like to show up and shine on the Dr. Pat Show as a co-host or sponsor, send us an email to inspire@thedrpatshow.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I'm so thrilled to have Colette join me here today. Colette Marie Stef. If you want to find out more about her and her fabulous show, you can go to thetruthisfunny.com. For a minute, can you please stop for a minute and just let people know about the book and how they can get a copy of the book as well, Colette?
Sure, absolutely. The Truth is Funny, Shift Happens, Stuff You Wish Your Mom Had Known to Tell You. It's a book I really actually was working on for about a decade. I'm doing protocols and traveling around the world looking for answers. And I'm kind of crazy that way. I've gone all the way to Peru and done ceremonies there looking for, these answers. And the book basically is everything I know about shifting energy up to, 2 years ago or a year ago when I finished writing it. And I really wanted to write a book that would actually shift energy as people read it. And this is exciting because people are now getting in touch with me and telling me that just reading the book, that they can feel the energy starting to shift for themselves. And that was my intention. It sounds a little bit like maybe over the edge, but I'm starting to get this feedback. So that book is available at Amazon.
That's great. It's a great book.
Amazon and Lulu, and then you can also get a signed copy with an intent if you go to my site, which is thetruthisfunny.com.
I love it. Today, I want to thank you for joining me here today because this is one of these topics that we don't talk about that often. But many of the folks that you'll come across in this arena will say to you that they had to peel back the layers. And I know we've talked a little bit, about the areas of weakness, how it affects our health and so forth and so on, and what we do attract and what we don't attract. But, in the world we live in, there are so many different aspects of this, especially with this idea that this is a complicated if you approach it from conventional medicine's point of view, it's complicated. But energy and energy medicine and healing, it's different. What would you say the difference is, and what did you discover about parasites, especially the fact that they come in many shapes and forms and sometimes are two-legged?
Yeah, that's what it's kind of funny. As I said, I've traveled the globe, and Will did travel to Peru with me, and we were in ceremony, and in the middle of this ceremony, he just wrote down that parasites are for lonely people who want more friends.
Wow. Yeah.
And he shared that with us, when the ceremony was over. And, it's kind of like it brought me back to this memory of how years ago I took probably 15 years ago, I took a course on animal communication. And one of the major things that I learned in this animal communication course was that, if you ever watch your cat will lay on computers, on negative spaces. My cat, Pearl, she'll go and lay on people and touch them in exactly the spot where their energy needs to be cleared. And a cat's purr has a very high resonation, just as a dog's tail wagging does. Insects are more like cats than dogs. Dogs will pick up our stuff because they're loyal. And so ticks love dogs, right?
Yeah, they do.
And the other thing is, but cats, they're more selective and they only work on people when they want to, from my experience. And they have a tendency to lay on places that are negative. Insects are like cats in that way. This woman said at this communication seminar that insects bite people where they need energy cleared, where there's kind of like a hole or an unclean spot in the energy field. And that's what they are attracted to, these negative energy grids. So if you look at parasites from the perspective that they could, from the shamanic point of view, ticks are, when they come into your life, a sign that perhaps, just perhaps, you have some parasitic people that are sucking the living life out of you. And so on an emotional, a psychological, on a mental level, if you go back and you take a look, and I always ask people to do this when I work with them in private sessions, if they've been in an accident or they've had some illness come upon them, do you remember what was going on in your life when you first started experiencing the symptoms? Or in this case, do you remember what was going on in your life when you attracted, on some level, this parasite into your life? And, quite often it'll come up, if I ask people who have Lyme disease, it'll come up that, yes, they actually had some parasitic things happening in their finances and their relationships with other people, with their family, friends, whatever. And they'll be like shocked. They'll like, I never thought of it from that perspective. That the parasite came after the energy that attracted it, rather than this parasite just all of a sudden appeared out of nowhere in your life. If you recognize that we tend to attract on some level our reality, then you say, oh, okay, and you go back to when where did this tick bite you?
Yeah, exactly.
When did it do it? And was it at a certain time of year? Because when I was looking up some of this, a lot of what happens with me is when I investigate these things from a scientific medical standpoint, I'm testing energetically, and all these weaknesses start like the underlying energetic weaknesses just kind of pour into my higher self network. And it's kind of like a download of information. And I got that, basically people who attract a parasite into their life actually are looking on some level they have other parasitic people in their life, or they have concerns about being parasitic themselves, things like that. And so we can go in and clear those things. And that can bring a huge amount of relief right there, because then it's not like, why did this happen to me? But, oh, I get it.
Right. What a relief that is, though. I mean, let's talk about this for a minute, if we could. What an enormous relief, because if you are in the Lyme community, many of you are, and you understand that you have been to doctor, you have been to nurses, you have been to practitioners, very few have talked with you about what is going on in your life. And what I mean by that, Colette, and this is important to say, part of what happens is the lack of recognition that anything is happening. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So you're not going to find somebody to say, wait a minute, let's talk about maybe the people in your life that are sucking the life out of you. That's not a conversation we can have. But this is, right?
Yeah, the shamans will tell you this, that, the tick, when the tick comes into your life,
Mm-hmm.
It's there to show you that perhaps you maybe are expecting too much of yourself, and maybe you are the one who is sucking the life out of yourself with unnecessary worry, unnecessary deadlines, unnecessary stress. And then on or perhaps you have people that are doing that to you, and maybe you want to take a look at that before you become very ill. The other thing I really wanted to touch on before we went to break that's coming up as another major for people with Lyme disease is this sadness, this grief at not being diagnosed. And people going to the doctor and being told, as you said, that, you know, a lot of times this is in your head. This is very similar to fibromyalgia. And it's similar to Parkinson's, the symptoms. There's a lot of diseases of this MS. And a lot of this, people are told, oh, this is just in your head. And on some level, what's funny is a lot of it is energetically coming up on a mental level, but not because the person is crazy, but because there's an energetic weakness there. That's all. And so we want to be able to track those and, you know, let those go. And so sometimes when people have a diagnosis, the prognosis can be like in, you know, if it's cancer or something like that, and it's serious disease. The very seriousness of that diagnosis precludes a person from having an easy outcome to get over it. So this lack of diagnosis that's bothering all the people out there, let's just let it go. And recognize that that is now allowing us to look for easy solutions to this problem.
You know, I have to tell you that what you're touching upon has been one of the most difficult parts of suffering from Lyme disease. And I don't know if we can say enough about this. I know we're going to talk about it more when we come back from break. But going from doctor to doctor, person to person, as a matter of fact, you know, you can be in relationship, Colette, with someone, and it's a loving relationship, and all of a sudden you're not well. Now you have this thing that nobody wants to name, because most people with Lyme are not being diagnosed. Even today, with all the tests don't do it. Now you've been walking around for years, some people even longer, Colette, right? Can you imagine walking around for years and you're not feeling well, and everybody around you is telling you, my gosh, really? You're really not sick? Well, wait a minute. You don't look, you look well. But maybe it's in your head. Maybe it's in your head. We're going to talk about that when we come back, everybody. What if it's not in your head? Okay, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you ready for a game changer? Sarah Westall is bringing you Business Game Changers Radio. Sarah brings you leading experts, visionaries, and newsmakers who provide the best commentary on big issues and cutting-edge innovations. Sarah's 20 years as a business executive will help you think like an entrepreneur with expertise, energy, and attitude. Tune in to Business Game Changers Mondays at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Sky Siegel co-hosts one of today's most popular psychic shows, Angels and Answers, with Artie Hoffman, as she communicates healing messages from the spirit world. These messages can be astounding, enlightening, and life-changing. Born with the God-given talent of inner guidance and the amazing ability to heal, Sky has healed thousands of people. Schedule a reading with Sky now. Call 908-500-1474 and visit skyofangels.com. Get into it for 2016. Do you want more prosperity, clarity, energy, and balance in your life? Join Lynn Brown now for one of her amazing workshops, each focusing on a key part of living your best life. For more information and to register for one of these amazing workshops, visit lynnbrownevent.com. That's lynnbrownevent.com. And get into it this 2016 with Lynn Brown.
Transformation Talk Radio is dedicated to the education and awareness of Lyme disease.
Welcome to Lyme Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Pat Baccili, the host of the Dr. Pat Show, and I am so thrilled that we've created this venue for all of you out there.
Dr. Pat Baccili will be bringing the most innovative, groundbreaking information, research, treatment innovations, and stories from those it affects every day.
What we have heard is that you want to ensure for us that we keep positive, holistic, uplifting, transformative talk radio on the air. We're excited to bring you the contemporary conversations about Lyme disease.
We promise not to let the light fade on Lyme.
So fasten your seatbelts. We've got lots more to share with you in the weeks to come.
Tune into Lyme Talk Radio with Dr. Pat and help keep our mission strong on transformationtalkradio.com.
Brand consultant and coach Jen Morgan is here with Radically Distinct Radio to help maximize your brand's power to produce results. Whether you're a person with a dream and unsure where to start, or a CEO of a successful company wondering what's next, Jen Morgan and the RAD method empowers you to play to your strengths and focus your competitive edge so you can show up in the world as your most powerful brand. Go to jenmorgan.com or call 206-972-5366.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Great to have all of you tuning us in and turning us on Lyme Talk Radio. For those of you that think, well, wait a minute, I recognize that voice or those voices, yes, I'm Dr. Pat. I'm the host of Dr. Pat Show. You know how to find me there. But I also have, I know you know the laugh of Colette, Marie, Stef. The truth is funny. And yeah, we are having a conversation that is so important in the community when you're looking at Lyme disease. Today now, we're also being joined by Will Hatch to talk about, this second part of this. What is it about us that is so vulnerable to the idea of listening to conversation after conversation, not really getting anyone to really say, yeah, maybe there is something going on with you, even if it is emotional, even if there is something that is so deeply embedded, in who we are. Colette, I think you talked about him earlier. We were talking about, well, maybe you feel abandoned. Well, sure, if your mom committed suicide when you were 6, maybe there could be something going on there. Will, welcome to the show. Great to have you both here.
Thank you, Pat.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to comment here that the reason, as I said, Will and I, neither one of us are doctors. He's an electrical engineer by training. But I asked him, Will, tell a story about how we ended up doing the talking about Lyme disease.
First off, why I'm here talking about energy work, I ask all the questions and I like to think about things. And at some point, I asked enough questions that I didn't know if I was real. And then I said, okay, maybe I don't know anything, and I'll start to open my mind to what else might be out there. And it wasn't very long after that I met Colette. But just a few weeks ago, I was digging in protein synthesis and how is it that we can read the DNA and what is the machine and how is it actually being done? And I was geeking out on this, and then next thing I knew, I got into Lyme because I remembered Pat does this Lyme show, and Lyme is a really tricky thing, and I started looking into how the Lyme guys work, and wow, they are really good at what they do.
See, this is the funny part, is because Will's perspective is that of a programmer, right? Of a computer. And I had asked him, I said, I'm finding the leading weaknesses here. And I just wanted to talk about the first one I got, and then I just want to let him go and talk about the rest of it, because he really has a beautiful way of explaining it. But for anybody who's an energetic practitioner that understands how to track these things, if you're working with this, what I realized is on a physical level, what the issue is that there's basically 9 different diseases that are associated with this one disease, and these are all interacting with each other. And this disease presents itself as bacterial, viral, parasitic, and fungal, and/or. And so what I did first and foremost is ask, of these 4 things, bacterial, viral, parasitic, or fungal, which one of these is this particular person weakest in. And going on a more general level, what is an underlying weakness for Lyme disease would be the parasitic angle because of the emotions, et cetera, that are involved in that. And, some of the societal things and the prognosis, diagnosis, and all of those things. And then it goes to, so you can ask, energetically, what is the next weakness? And I'm getting bacterial. And that would be, and when I looked it up, the Borrelia virus, right? Bacteria. Yeah. And then the babiosis, and then also it was the aerolicosis. And so when I was looking those 3 bacterias up, then I can test which one of these is bothering this person the most. And then I can pick up that one, and I can, understanding what the underlying factors are of that, I can address those issues. And when it's bacterial, there's, the Bartonella, and then there's chlamydia pneumonia. And then in the viral area, there's Epstein-Barr. Yeah, and then cytomyosis, and also the human herpes virus comes in. Then on a fungal level, the candida. And so energetically, I can go in and eliminate these things. And if I go to the weakest one first and get to the bottom of the reasons why that's happening, then I can move into a stronger place of, okay, well, what's the next weakness? So that you're actually identifying the leading weakness. And by doing that and shifting it, what happens is the person or allowing this information to be used in a more helpful way, then you can get to the next weakness. When you correct the number one weakness that a person has in any given moment, it quite often automatically corrects a bunch of the other things. Now, the next thing that came up, besides the complications of all these 9 different other disease that comes in, is the fact that the immune response, and that's what I want Will to explain here now. I'm just going to give you the floor, Will.
Yeah, Will. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's dance, ladies.
Yeah.
So, this Borrelia was the one I really zoned in on first. And oh my, inside the tick, in order to evade the tick's immune system, it presents certain proteins on its cell membrane so that the tick's immune system and other cells comes in and it just looks like everything's normal. This is part of me. I'll give it my food. I'll take its waste away, and life goes on. Then it comes inside us, and here's where my brain exploded.
Oh, boy.
Not only does it change how it expresses its outer system, but our body has an immune response that directly attacks this. If we're in a healthy state, this thing isn't a problem at all. This blew my mind open, because here's this thing that's causing all these problems, and I realized that this is easy. This is every day. All of us have the ability to get rid of these things very easily, and it comes into what's called the complement immune system, which has a massive cascade of different proteins and peptides, amino acids, things like that coming together. It can identify this cell. When it's working properly, it comes in and it rips a hole in the cell wall. Like, it builds a hole out of different proteins in the cell wall so that it can drain it. But then we have this problem that there was a whole bunch of ammonia in there. And if anybody isn't really familiar, inside the body in minute quantities, ammonia is a really, really nasty neurotoxin. So these little guys are producing a lot of problems for us. But then when I got into that, my brain exploded again, because it's not just them producing a neurotoxin, but they're triggering our own cell death through another metabolic pathway that's producing an even nastier neurotoxin.
Yeah. And it's really, when we think about this, and we think about, for many people, this is a new conversation, and even Lyme disease in itself is new. But this is really kind of the interesting part of this. Lyme disease by itself, and the way that you're explaining it, really points to what the dynamic is of how a tick bite that isn't treated on its inception can turn into chronic, debilitating, and death, by the way. This little thing that we're talking about, spirochete or otherwise, that becomes so smart in our bodies, and it really does, has the ability to pop off in the middle of our heart and end our lives. And what you're talking about here today is what's being discovered and has been discovered, that if we look at the scenarios as to why some people that might be carrying the bacteria never really get to this part, and maybe others who maybe go have an operation or go have these other traumatic things, maybe a divorce.
Exactly, Pat. That's one thing I wanted to interject
exactly.
here.
Yeah, go ahead.
People are looking always for the physical aspect,
right.
but divorce is like a huge thing, moving, and it doesn't even have to be something that's what most people would label bad. It might be a move to somewhere where you want to go, but you're still stressed out.
Yeah. Somebody asked me, and I'd love both of you to comment on this. Someone asked me last week when we were doing the show, what my thinking was on the bill that was getting ready to go to the Senate floor and so forth and so on. And my answer was, you know what? If we think we're going to pass legislation that's missing 98% of what must be addressed in the Lyme community, the layers and layers and layers of what we're talking about today, then we'll have legislation passed for a false cure. And so I took a lot of heat for that. But what I wanted to say about this is, there's nothing that says that some part of a treatment is good, bad, or indifferent. But I think we're missing the whole picture, right?
Yeah, and so Will, when he started talking about these proteins to me, I was like, it reminded me of when my little dog Ella was sick. And she had some rare disease that Tibetan Terriers get, and it causes a lot of problems, like with, similar to these, like, with neurological problems. And so at the time when I recognized, that's what it came to me. This dog it was actually coming up physical. So I looked it up, and sure enough, I got, look it up, and I looked it up, and there's this rare disease. And so I didn't understand necessarily all these proteins or anything. But I've at that time back then, I phoned my daughter who was studying medical sciences, and I asked her to please explain to me what each of these proteins that they were talking about were missing for this dog in this neurological process in the cells. Explain them to me. And I just downloaded them in my computer, my hard drive, which is my brain and central nervous system. And then I just started energetically tuning into my dog. And every time, I thought about it, I would correct her. So she lived an extra 5 years longer than most dogs would live that have this. And if I went out of town, people would notice because she'd get sick, because I wasn't there constantly kind of shifting it. And this is what's so exciting to me about what Will discovered. And, because when Will said this, like, these things can be tracked, and we can energetically, we can tune in. And, Will, when you were talking about this, different thoughts went through my mind about, okay, well, if these if this reaction in the cells is not traceable to the medical community or whatever, on an energetic level, we could light them up yellow.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd like to hear you talk about this, Will, as well, because what you talked about and the way you explained it is something that perhaps we need to really take to a bigger audience, because so often we make it quite complicated. But let me see if I understand what you said. I think that what I heard you say is there could be something done that strengthens us with energy or energy medicine, whatever we want to call it, that strengthened us not just from a physical point of view, but even at the cell membrane point of view. I mean, it sounds like you have looked at this so closely.
When I got into it, I found that there's natural ways to get rid of this. And so when I got into how those are operating and the metabolic processes that produce these things, I started to realize that when we talk about energy, it has to do with your state. Now, think of a moment when you were really stressed out. What was your state? You're full of all of the garbage in your body that's produced when you're stressed. And when you're in a happy state, you're full of a different group of chemicals, a lot of dopamine, a lot more serotonin. You could be really high in that moment because of what you're going through in that state. Now, when you think about how the effect of the accumulation of that state over time, and there are going to be, I know this already, enough metabolic pathways when you map it all and you put it all together, but geez, it's going to take some resources to do that, that you'll be able to see how feeling happy produces these chemicals, which allows you to have more of these other chemicals free, which are then going to be able to do the job to take care of all the other bugs. But right now, because we're so stressed out all the time, we're so busy fighting with our own garbage. Quite literally.
Well, yeah. And you know, I let's talk about this if you don't mind, because unless you really had this disease and now it's become chronic, and it's hard to describe the garbage that gets piled on from your attempt to remain in hope, to remain positive, and to be told every time you turn from one direction to the other that no, that's not it. No, you're not right. No. I think that, if you were to sit down, and both of you have, with people that have chronic Lyme disease, they probably have heard the words no more times than most. In some strange way.
The whole disease of fibromyalgia, MS, Parkinson's, and Lyme disease, very closely related on an energetic level, is the disease of saying no to yourself and yes to other people at the expense of yourself. And the waste that we're talking about here is actually parasitic waste, cellular waste, half-dead cells. The regeneration and degeneration are not even in this case. And that's what Will and I were like, when he started telling me this, I was like, wow, this is the basic principles of rejuvenation of the body. A lot of people will think that, well, hey, you want to have more regeneration than degeneration. No, you want it to be 50-50. Because when cells die, when parasites poop, that has to go somewhere in your body.
Oh, no kidding.
And so these parasites, like a lot of what people have, the causes of arthritis are a bunch of minerals and calcifications in the joints that parasites love to feed off of. And then they add to the problem by pooping there. Basically, when Will was saying that we're actually in our own waste, we are actually in our own waste. And we're creating more and more waste, and the degeneration process is greater than the regeneration process. And unfortunately, one of the other things that came up when we were looking at this, and Will brought this up about this problem of the waste in the body, that one of the the treatment for Lyme disease is antibiotics, and heavy doses of antibiotics. And in actual fact, the antibiotics, we want to be strong that they have on an energetic level, that anything we put in our body is going to have a strong effect on us and not a weak effect. So energetically, we can shift a lot of these medicines to work for us to the best of their ability, and to delete the what are so-called side effects. Some of the side effects of these antibiotics that people are put on are causing the exact same symptoms or worse ones. Yeah. And so now we've got another factor. We've got to make sure that if people are taking antibiotics for Lyme disease, that they're strong to taking them.
Well, and isn't this interesting? Because strong, right? Let's talk about strong for a minute. And I want you both to weigh in on this if we could. Strong is not just how many reps am I going to make at that 25-pound weight, okay? Strong can also mean, do I even believe I can lift the 25-pound weight? So you're talking about strong at many, many levels. Colette, I got to say something. You said something to me, oh my God, was about 3, maybe 4, 6 months ago maybe. And I forget your exact words, but I think you said something like, Pat, find something you love to do. And these are my words, but I think you said this, something like, find something you love to do and then do it. And you were talking about dancing, right? For you. Remember we were talking about that on a Saturday, like a marathon call. Yeah. And dancing. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I can't think of anything. And then it dawned on me. I love to play table tennis. So it was about 2 weeks later, and I shed the belief, or maybe you cleared me. I don't know what you did. And I had the notion that I could play table tennis.
I love it.
I do too.
And I ended up going down there to the senior center in Bothell, and I started to play. And I got to tell you, I didn't play very well. Last Saturday, I played for 4 hours and hit a ball 80 miles an hour.
Wow.
Now, my calculation, they didn't even see the ball hit the table. So we had a big fight over whether the ball actually hit the table. I said the ball did hit the table. But that's not my point. And I would like you guys to talk a little bit in the last minutes we have left and how we can begin to shift the idea of us not being able to heal ourselves, because that's the killer.
Okay.
And then you can talk about it on your show.
Absolutely. I'm just going to say this, and then I'm going to turn it over to Will, because I'm sure I could feel he's got a really good shift here for people. But what I wanted to say is that he just happens to be, like, I have him on as a regular with my other regulars on my radio show, and so this coming Wednesday, on the 12th, we decided we're going to continue this. If people would like to phone in to The Truth is Funny, because that's the mandate for that show, is we want people to be able to call in. If you have Lyme disease or any other problem, really, feel free to call in. And Will and I are going to address this on another level again here. So I just wanted to put that invitation out. It's 8:00 a.m. Pacific time. And Will, what are your thoughts on this, your final thoughts on this for people for today?
I didn't only learn bad news. I got into, like I said, started the protein synthesis. Because once you break it down, we are a bag of fats and proteins for the most part, with some salts and a whole bunch of water. And there's these little building blocks called amino acids. And when you eat the proteins, whether it's a meat or something else, and your body's breaking it apart, different proteins have different purposes. They create muscles and tendons and cells themselves. They do a lot of stuff. And they are very unique, variant. There's more proteins than I can imagine right now. And it comes down to there's some amino acids that we can make, but there's some that we can't. And we call these essential amino acids. And when I got into that, I found that L-arginine is, there's a bunch of research showing that's really important in regards to immunity. And I started digging into that, and I started looking at what is L-arginine doing, and oh my, it does a whole bunch of stuff. I've only begun to get into it. But one of the neatest things so far is that it produces something in your blood vessels, that nitrous oxides, and it will dilate vessels, increase blood flow, which helps to get rid of garbage, and at the same time it breaks down arterial plaques. And it got me wondering if this would have anything to do, perhaps, with the health of our body being able to break down the biofilms that these guys are hiding in.
Yeah.
It's really...
I think they're going to have to do part 2 of this show.
Yeah, that's what I
heard. Colette, I heard you laugh because I think that this is going to be part 2. What are the possibilities? What are the possibilities of discovering the energy of healing for Lyme disease? Thank you both for tuning us in, turning us on. Please give out the website again, and I look forward to part 2 of this.
Sure, www.thetruthisfunny.com, 8 o'clock a.m. Wednesday Pacific time. We'll be continuing this conversation on October 12th.
I love it. Will, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
For having me.
Awesome. Colette, thank you as well. And I want to thank everybody right out there. We all want to thank everybody.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for tuning us in. I know it. And you know what? We are going to do part 2. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time.
Okay, bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Lyme Talk Radio with Dr. Pat Baccili, Epic Healing for an Epic Life. This inspiring show highlights leading-edge solutions, groundbreaking research, headline topics, and tools for holistic healing and wellness. This hit show is dedicated to raising awareness, promoting advocacy and prevention, and supporting initiatives for optimal health. Dr. Pat is passionate and focused on life-saving results reaching far beyond Lyme disease, providing a forum for powerful stories, heart-opening experiences, and hope-activated solutions. Dr. Pat will shine a light on the many shades of Lyme disease fueled by a body-mind-spirit remedy. For more information, visit LymeTalkRadio.com and tune in next time.